I don't know if you remember this, but a few weeks ago was St. Patrick's Day. And, that's all about like gold coins and leprechauns and all of that. I mean, sorry, don't get me wrong, there's like a much more real meaning behind St. Patrick's Day. But to me, I just look at the mascots and I'm like, well, that's what the whole holiday is, right? Which is probably, highly offensive to reduce down entire traditions and cultures to just some mascots. But I'm not going to go and look up what St. Patrick's Day is all about. I'm just going to look at the things that are presented in front of me and then base my entire opinions off of them. So that's what I do. I think St. Patrick's Day is all about gold coins, right? And so when St. Patrick's Day happened a few weeks back, a friend of mine got me these gold coin shaped chocolates. So they were this disc of chocolate and it was wrapped in gold foil to make it look like a gold coin. But then also on the gold foil was the head of a president to make it look like a real coin. And this president was JFK. I was like, oh, I don't know how they made that decision. Maybe like JFK was Irish. I have no idea. Once again, I don't do any of my own research. But I took it at face value, no pun intended. Actually, heavily intended pun. That's the whole point of making a pun. Why do people make puns and then say no pun intended? It's like, actually, now I'm starting to really consider that you were going to make a pun the whole time. Yeah. Isn't that weird? There is no pun intended until you say no pun intended. It's kind of like when someone says, no offense, but it's like, well, now that doesn't get you a pass of not being offensive. It's still going to be offensive, even though you're self aware enough to acknowledge that. The same way where it's like, it's still a pun. It doesn't not become a pun now that you've said no pun intended. In fact, you're being a little cheeky, aren't you? You're a little baboon, showing all that cheek. Because you said no pun intended, just in case anyone in the audience, didn't get that there was a pun there. They'd be like, wait, he said no pun intended. That means there's a pun there. Let me try to figure it out. And oh no, the fact that I didn't get that right off the bat, does that mean I'm inferior in terms of intelligence? No, you're fine. If you're not picking up on puns, that's okay. But, if there's that many puns being thrown around you in a social setting, maybe get new friends. Because that doesn't sound like a very pun time. No pun intended. But this gold coin, it had JFK's head on it. I was like, oh, interesting choice. I unwrapped the gold coin because, Gauruv deserved a treat. He did well. What did he do that day? Well, he woke up before noon. Big day for him. He never does that. But yeah, this day I probably woke up before noon, did dishes, and that's really a productive day if you really take a close examination of my life. But, I did the bare minimum, so I was like, I deserve a reward. And so I went to the gold coin, I unwrapped it, and I saw that, oh, the chocolate coin itself has JFK's head on it too. I was like, huh, this seems like really cheap chocolate, something you would just get in the bin of the dollar store, and you really get like a whole bag of them, and it wouldn't make a dent. So I was like, I didn't expect this to be very high quality. And don't get me wrong, it wasn't really high quality once you eat the chocolate, but in terms of a decorative point of view, I didn't think JFK's head was going to be on the chocolate too, but it was. And so I took a bite out of it, and then I looked at the gold coin, and there was a giant chunk missing from JFK's head, and I looked at it, and I was like, oh, not again. And I felt bad. I threw the rest of it away. I was like, well, I can't put the man through that again, There were bad optics. I started closing my blinds. I'm like, please no one see this. I'm not a bad guy, I swear. I'm just trying to enjoy a treat because I did basic human things today. I swear I'm a good person. So yeah. That guilt's been sitting with me for a couple weeks, so I just had to come clean and say that I'm not even going to say it because then I think I'll end up on a list if I say what I was about to say. So just know that it was cheap, but nope, I'm not going to take that anywhere. What's the next thing we can talk about? Well, I'm a big Facebook guy. Oh, love a good Facebook. And so I went on Facebook and I realized, oh yeah, they tell you anytime your friend has a birthday. It's like, hey, guess what? It's Johnny's birthday, or hey, guess what? It's Maria's birthday. And you're like, thanks. I'm not going to do anything with that information, but cool. It's like when someone you kind of know, they tell you when their birthday is. I'm like, that's dope. I'm not going to do anything for it, but I guess I have that information now, you know? Hey, my birthday's on May 1st. Okay. So what are you going to do for it? Nothing. I don't know you like that. Why would you expect me to do something for you? Did you think we were closer than we were? I know you like that, man. But yeah, Facebook always tells you when someone's birthday, when one of your friends has a birthday. And it got me thinking, oh yeah, in a lot of online like chat rooms and stuff like that, not chat rooms, but a lot of online like chat services like Discord or like Microsoft Teams or Skype, I think there more and more of these services are implementing like auto responses. LinkedIn has it too in their messages feature. You can send yeah, like canned responses to people. You've seen it, right? Where it's someone's like, "How does this time work?" And then they provide you all the responses where it's like, "Yes, absolutely. Let me check my schedule. Can we reschedule? Because that's not going to work for me. I'm packed full." Because I didn't know how these buttons worked, and I just said yes to everyone. So now I have a really busy schedule. But you know those automated messages? I just want to say I hate them. Like, I talked to multiple people about automated messages, and they're like, I think the worst thing in the world, because you can tell when people give them because they include punctuation, and no well-minded person would ever send a message with punctuation. I get it. You're writing an essay. You're trying to, prove your case to someone. Like when I was younger, I wrote a essay on why I deserve Mario Party on the Wii. And I put punctuation all over that shit because I was trying to make a point. I was trying to give myself credibility. I needed to appear in a professional setting to get this video game. But when you're just talking with friends and you hit me with a yes period, I'm like, okay, bitch, you don't think you don't think I'm worth the time to type those 3 letters? How dare you? And then imagine, they're using the capital front letter, and then or they're not. They're just typing, so everything's lowercase. But then they hit you with a couple word response with a capital first letter. Like you see, they hit you with a "see you then," and it has a capital S, and you're like, hold on. Did you just jump onto a phone and you got the like auto first letter capitalized thing, or did you just hit me with a canned response and you don't feel excited to see me soon? You just threw me one of those. And so I was like, wait a minute. Facebook automates the notification of being like, hey, it's this person's birthday, right? What are you going to do? And I'm like, I already have enough pressures in life, man. Now I got to worry about this person's birthday that I haven't talked to in 9 years. It's like, what the fuck? Like, I'm about to unfriend them, not because of any, bad reason. I just don't want to be reminded that they are growing older. Because if they're growing older, does that mean I'm growing older? And if I'm growing older, then what the fuck does that mean? Does that mean I'm supposed to be more mature? I have more responsibilities? I can't get a pass just because of my age anymore? God damn it. And so, yeah, I'll unfriend someone from a decade ago so I don't have to live with that guilt. It all makes logical sense. But then I started thinking, wait, if they can automate letting someone know it's their birthday, are they going to start automating like responses too? Like if it is someone's birthday, you can click on their profile and it'll say, how do you want to say happy birthday? You want to say happy birthday exclamation mark, or like congrats, or like here's to the big 2-3 or something like that, And I was like, so they have canned responses and you can tell when people give them. My least favorite thing, I know there's people that do it and I do love them, but if you're very close to me, you know that I don't like it when on my birthday I get messages that say happy birthday exclamation mark, and it's like the perfect capital H, lowercase b, and then exclamation mark. Because I'm like, you didn't write that shit. That's not how humans type, man. I mean, sure they do if they're above 50 years old, but anyone younger than that, I'm like, that's not how you type. I know you didn't put your blood, sweat, and tears into that shit. Now, man, go down and how big is that? Happy is 5 letters and birthday is 8 letters. Go down, take the time to type 15 characters, because you got to include the space and the exclamation mark. Go ahead, take the time, hit me with those 15 characters. If you're just going to hit the canned response and press send, we're done. Go ahead, unfriend me, friend. Or should I say ex-friend? That's right. Zuckerberg, pull the lever, man. They're out. Fuck them. I'm just kidding. I love people to give me automated responses because in the end of the day, you have to realize that even the acknowledgement of a happy birthday in any form, no matter how lazy, shows that there are people in your life that care enough to do even that. Because what's the other substitute? They do nothing. It's nice enough, I found in life, to just get something. And just like I started the podcast by saying, sometimes you gotta applaud the bare minimum. So in the same way that I deserved a gold coin, you know what? You gotta be thankful for the people that hit you with automated messages. Because what else are you gonna do? Not the dishes and not get happy birthdays? What kind of world is that? One in which, you know what, wouldn't actually be that different than the one I'm living in now, but it's not one I want to live in. Okay? So, automated messages, fuck you. But then it got me thinking, wait, in the world of AI, right? Like that's now taking over, like everything being like taking humans out of the equation, like factories, those are going to be a thing of yesterday. Like with assembly line workers, like they're all going to be robots. You've seen them, right? Those arms and shit like that. And like the way they move, that's all AI, right? I think. I don't know if I'm using the word AI correctly. But then it got me thinking, if you can automate a notification of telling other people, hey, it's this person's birthday, can't then we automate a response too? Where if we ever see someone's birthday, we will auto send a message that says happy birthday. And then I was like, wait, doesn't that mean we'll just live in a world where bots are just talking to each other? And then I was like, oh my God, this is actually a plot in one of the episodes of Silicon Valley. I watched that show last summer. And Guilfoyle creates an AI so he can respond to all his coworkers because he fucking hates them. And then Dinesh spends the whole day messaging Guilfoyle and he thinks he's his friend. But then he sees Guilfoyle over by the snacks and he's getting responses. So he, realizes what's happening. So he asks Guilfoyle, hey, can you make me an AI? And then he does. And then Guilfoyle and Dinesh's AIs keep talking to each other. And I think that causes a problem. And I was like, is this the world we're going to live in? One where Facebook tells us, hey, it's this person's birthday. But then Facebook goes ahead and just says, happy birthday. And then it's just fucking robots talking to each other. And then you got to wonder, what's the point? Why do these things even exist? It's weird. You could go to dinner with that person and they'd be like, it was my birthday a month ago. And they'd be like, really? I didn't know that. But hey, happy birthday. And that's really the acknowledgement of their birthday. But if you saw online, you would have been like, oh, they got that shit the day of. They're probably so close. It's like, nah, man. You go to dinner like once a year. They're not close at all. But now, adult relationships, I'm seeing that, once a year, I'm actually pretty close friends. It's not sad. It's just true, right? If it's true, it doesn't make it any less sad. I don't know what I'm saying. But on this same topic of technology, there was something I realized about a month ago, and it's like how humans talk to technology. So I talked about technology talking to technology, but what about humans talking to technology? And I realized, oh yeah, there's just this fascinating thing I think that people do where like we talk to technology and it's a futile effort, I would say, right? Like, when your computer starts shutting down and it's like, these updates are necessary. I'm like, really, Windows? Now? It couldn't give me a little bit more time. Now I'm actually doing important shit. Now you want to be like, boop, 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 boop. I'm going to now take 37 minutes to do this thing that's going to change your background. You're going to thank me for that. But yeah, a computer will like start to update at some inconvenient time and then we'll go like, no, please stop. Come on. Hey, what are you doing? And we'll start talking to our computer. And then what's another thing, right? Like your TV isn't working. You're trying to turn that on. You're like, come on, buddy. Come on. Just come on. And I'm like, none of this matters. all this talking we do. But a lot of us talk to technology. Right? Isn't that so weird? And I wonder where does that come from, right? And you could be like, wait, isn't that kind of like how people talk to dogs and like pets and stuff where they're like, oh, buddy, don't do that. Don't chew at my shoes. I spent all my I spent my entire salary on that just so people will think I'm cool. And now you're tearing that up? Come on, buddy. But you could make the argument that dogs hear, those patterns and noises, and they will actually start speaking your language. Like, when that's how commands work, right? Eventually, when you teach them to sit and they hear it with the word sit and that like upward motion to like, oh, I got a treat in my hand, and they go like this and say sit, they'll eventually be programmed to be like, when I hear sit, let me sit and I'll get a treat. Isn't that what Pavlov's thing is, right? And then that's the whole psyche behind like the clicker. If you ever gone to a dog training class, you know that clicker I'm talking about. Even to me, it's like, when you hear an alarm noise, it kind of like triggers something in you. Anytime I hear that clicker, I'm like, oh, is there a dog nearby about to hump my leg because they haven't fucking trained this guy yet? God damn. I'm like, he doesn't even have him still. How's he getting so horny? But yeah, you ever notice that? We talk to technology and I don't get why we do it. Like, what is that? I'm sure someone's looked it up, and actually there's probably one Google search I could do and actually get an answer to this question. But like any person, I'm just gonna put forward a question and be like, why don't we have the answer for this? You know? Would you want me to solve my own problems? What the fuck is wrong with you? How dare you? Don't speak to me in that tone. Let me have my problems that are easily solvable, but I'm not gonna make any effort, okay? And let me be this way. Man. I was at In-N-Out also, and I was in the drive-thru, and I'm sure I've talked about this, but let's talk about it again because it's a real fucking issue in this world. It's the real epidemic here, okay? This no waving epidemic. Let me explain. I'm in there, a car in front of me goes forward, but I notice this couple's coming towards the restaurant because they want to sit inside. I'm like, that's great for you. The ambiance in and out, I get it. There's an allure there. So, I could have pulled forward and been in their path, but I was like, let me hang back. Even though it was a big gap and I could make the argument that I could have gone, but I was like, in their position, I would want the car to wait. So I was like, well, treat others how you want to be treated. I still had my foot on the brake and I let them pass. And they didn't even acknowledge me. Not even so much of a, little side glance, like little head nod. No. Eyes down, march forward. And I was like, oh, you don't deserve what I just gave you. Actually, in fact, you don't know what I just gave you. And that's probably the most heartbreaking part is that I gave them this treat and they didn't even fucking acknowledge it. But that's why you got to use the clicker. So anytime you give a treat, you got to click so that they know, oh yeah, this is when this is supposed to happen. So I let them go, and yeah, there was no acknowledgement. Even if it wasn't like a kind thing I did, I did a very kind thing. This is karma for at least 2 weeks worth. Me letting this couple pass, now I can be an asshole to everyone in my life. Because I did that nice thing. I mean, that's why you have to do nice things, right? So you can like rack up karma. Or else what's the point in being nice? To be a good person? Fuck that. Who's trying to be a good person? That takes a lot of energy. And a lot of energy means you got to eat more food, and then that takes more money. And then you're just digging yourself into debt. So really, to be a good person is to be poor. Why would you do that? It's simple math, folks. I'm telling you. Everything I learned growing up in math and engineering, I mean, they teach you these things. It's simple. Look at the facts. It's all there. But yeah, they went by and I'm like, you guys didn't even give me anything? That I can't relate with that. Like, even if it was a normal, like, just walking in front, like I couldn't have even moved forward, I in their position would still have waved. I'd be like, I'm passing by, just I see you're living life, I'm living life. It's just a nice like human interaction to be like, look at us, huh? I'm walking here and you're in the car. Hey man. But nothing. Even after a favor, nothing. It's upsetting, really. And it speaks on our culture as a whole. How ungrateful we are, How fast we can come into people's lives and out of them. In fact, that's what In-N-Out was named after. All these cold-blooded non-waivers that don't acknowledge me when I'm giving you all this room to move. It's bullshit. Are you sure you guys meant to go to In-N-Out? Because, McDonald's is very receptive to clowns. And by the looks of it, looks like you would fit right in. It's bullshit. They weren't even ready. They were still holstered. They had the hands in the pocket. So if we were trying to do a quick draw of waves, they weren't even in the running. That shows that they're not grateful at all. Like going up about 10 feet before I get to the car, I would take my hands out of my pocket just to be ready for it, just so they know. It's a little bit of foreplay, They see me take my hands out of my pocket. They're like, ooh, I think I know what's going to happen. And then I get by and I'm like, hey, man. And they're like, ooh, it happened, Basically what I'm saying is when these people pass by, they didn't give me that social climax that I was looking for. But you got to give them the respect too, right? Because they didn't even blue ball me because they were just holstered the whole walk over. And so I don't know why I got my hopes up. That's like, when there's a really pretty girl in your class, right? I got to admit, freshman year, I was in this one class. I'm not going to give too many details because I don't want to get too specific. I'm about to dox myself. But there was this really pretty girl in one of my classes. And like we never talked to each other. We literally had zero interaction. The closest thing to an interaction we had is one time, week 7, I told a joke. She looked my way and laughed. That's the only that's the only interaction we had, which you shouldn't even really count. That shouldn't be on the scoreboard at all. But you create this thing because you're like, well, I feel an attraction towards this person. So even a little crumb of something they give you, you're like, well, that's something. But it's not. There was nothing there. For you to even think that something was going to come out of that is baloney. Or like crazy. It's crazy. It's wild. And so I guess I'm once again unjustified in feeling like I was, left on the short end of the stick. Because just like this extremely attractive girl in my class, this couple never even showed a sign of acknowledging me. Their hands were in their pocket. They were looking the other way. Why did I expect anything to happen between us? I was thinking about this the other day. I don't know why. It's not a healthy thing. I shouldn't have thought it, but I did, and it happened. So I wrote it down. I thought about it, and statistically speaking, there is someone at Davis, UC Davis, that doesn't like me purely based on my online persona. Isn't that wild? I was thinking about it as I was reading comments on some social media posts, and people were just like fucking hating this person. And I was like, well, they've never met this person. And this isn't like a person that everyone hates. This is like a well-liked person. But there were a few comments that were like, I don't find this person interesting. I don't find them funny. Or not exactly those words, but that was the energy behind it. I was like, but you don't know who this person is. And yet you're blindly like, fuck that person. And I was like, oh my God, using that same logic, there are probably people at Davis that don't like me. And I've actually seen it. I don't know if you remember when Wildfire was an app, but I made a few videos on it. But there was a comment in some threads that were like, I don't know why people like him. He's not funny or something like that. And luckily there's enough people at Davis that like me. So like they fucking ratioed him into the ground. It was like negative 26 was like his upvotes or whatever. So you got like at least, 26 downvotes. And I was like, holy fuck. I got a lot of white knights out there, But I was like, well, that person doesn't like me, right? Unless this is like maybe a swing and a miss on being like sarcastic. I've also run into this kind of person, and it's not it's tough because I think they come from a good place, but the execution is, it's not very King Henry because there's not a lot of good execution. They'll like be intentionally like mean or sarcastic with me because they like think that's what I'm into, and I'm like, no, you just have to be a nice person. You don't have to. Yeah, I've had some people like try to rib me, and I'm like, I see what you're going for, but some people can do it well. Like there is this one girl I met 3 years ago, and she gives me a hard time, but it's in such a funny way, and she does it so well. That's why I'm friends with her. But like, there's some people who are like, nope, don't do this. This isn't your thing, man. Hey, what's up, you anorexic gingerbread man? I'm like, yo, we just met, man. You can't be coming in that hot. That's not. That didn't actually happen. That exact example I used, that's just something I've written about myself. But decided to break it out here, you know? Because who's the meanest person to you? Or like, who could be the meanest to yourself? It's you. You look at everything. Isn't that wild? Like, you are your meanest person to yourself. I've said this already. But like, I think you have the most material against yourself because you see every insecurity. Something you fixate on, some people might not even fucking see. But then you bring that shit forward and it's like, oh, I didn't even see that for you. I'm like, you think about that? Yeah, man. Yeah, man, I'm really insecure of my giant bulging biceps. I'm surprised more people aren't turned off by that than me. And they're like, what? What's up now? What are you are you being sarcastic now? I don't really get your humor. But that one was way far off. I don't even know how that would be funny. I'm like, okay, easy. But yeah, statistically speaking, I've made enough content. I've gotten enough views. Like on YouTube, I have like a third of a million views or something. Last time I checked, I think it was like 356,000. I've appeared on other channels too. I was on Dominic Cynthia's channel for that kickback. I think that had like 70,000 views or something. I was on UDJ's channel a few times. So there's been enough like eyes on me to where like people have opinions on me purely based of my online persona. And so naturally that's not going to rub everyone the right way. And so I was like, statistically there's someone out there that doesn't like me and probably like with a passion. And I'm like, that's hilarious. Because there's so many better reasons to hate me than what you see online. This is me putting my best foot forward. Okay? You got so much more material if you meet me in real life. This person doesn't even get it. There's so many better reasons to hate me. They're just going off of this. Dare I say? It's kind of stupid. You could be more justified in your feelings. I just want you to know that. To everyone out there that hates me, that's never met me, just know there's so much more to it. So much more of a reason to hate me if you ever meet me in real life. I don't know what this is. Is it Pavlovian? I've mentioned that now twice in this episode, so now I don't want to sound like one of those people that like takes certain theories and like laws and then touts them off like he's some kind of fucking genius. Don't you hate people that do that? They like learn some theory and then they start applying it everywhere in their life and you're like, did you just read one book? Like, why do you keep repeating this shit? Yeah, this is just like what is that? Fucking this is just like no, I don't even have a good example. I mean I do, but I don't want to use it because it's like something I've done. I don't want to be mean to myself. That's not healthy. But it's like, what's a god? Odin, right? This is just like Odin's theory of relativity. What? And it's this like super niche thing, but it can be applied to a lot. So this person like learns about it and then starts talking about it to everyone. They're like, oh yeah, this is just like Odin's theory of relativity. It's like, what the fuck is this? Okay, go ahead, explain what it is. And then they're like, well, Odin says that every memory you have is connected to every other memory you have. It's like, what the fuck? Yeah, because I guess they're all my memories, but why are you saying that? It's like, well, that's why you're reminded of this. Hey man, why did we invite you to this party? Is that all you're going to be saying this whole time? Sorry, I don't know. I went on I went through a weird place with that. But isn't it Pavlov's where it's like every time you hear it click, like you get programmed to like think a thing? Like in The Office, every time Jim reset his computer, he would offer Dwight a mint. And he did that for, I think, days or weeks. And then eventually, Jim reset his computer, and Dwight instinctively, without looking up, put his hand out, and, wanted a mint. And then Jim was like, "What are you doing?" And then he was like, "Oh, I don't know. Suddenly my mouth feels weird." And it's because he's so used to having a mint after hearing that sound. And so I don't know if this is quite related to that, but I've noticed that I just earlier this week, those like sprayable, like the canisters of whipped cream, the people usually pour those into their mouth. So I was doing that earlier this week, and I noticed every time I, took a dollop, I guess, of whipped cream, I like smelled and tasted strawberries. And I was like, huh, I wonder if that's because growing up, whenever I would have this whipped cream, I would always eat it with strawberries. So now I can't eat this whipped cream without tasting strawberries and like smelling strawberries. And so I was like, huh. And then the same way, I was eating peanut butter straight out of the jar this week. You can think whatever you want to think about that. It's fucking delicious. I was eating peanut butter just straight out of the jar. Jif peanut butter. I started realizing, oh, this reminds me of a farm. And I don't know what this connection is. But yeah, anytime I eat peanut butter, I start like thinking of like cows and like farmland. But it's only when I eat peanut butter by itself. In a PB&J, no thoughts of farm life. None of that. I eat a PB&J and I think, well, this is a good choice. PB&Js are fantastic. I'm glad I'm doing this with my life. But I never think of a farm. But the second I take a spoon to that goddamn butter of peanuts, thinking about cows. And I have to admit, yeah, there is kind of a dungy smell you feel. But it's not unwelcome, I would say. You would think like, oh, are you smelling scat? You smelling shit? Isn't that gross? No, it's kind of dope. It reminds me of good times. And I don't know what these good times I'm smelling are. But peanut butter puts this smell of like farm shit in my nose. And I like it. So yeah, whipped cream reminds me of strawberries. And peanut butter puts shit in my nose. I do like the whipped cream feeling a little more. But the other ones, it's not bad. I was talking to someone on the phone earlier this week, and I got done talking, and I, have a normal, with this person, I have a normal, like, sign off I say. I'll say these three things. I'm not going to say what the three things are, but the last thing is bye. But, like, right in the middle of my bye, I accidentally hit hang up. And I was like, oh, I literally hung up in the middle of my farewell, and I went, oh my God. And I immediately called the person back. I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I did not mean to hang up. They're like, yeah, that was a little abrupt. I was like, I didn't mean that. My finger was hovering it, and I don't know what happened, but I just like applied pressure. And I hung up on you. I didn't mean that. And they're like, it's fine. And then we said, bye. And then it got me thinking, wait, yeah, there's like an etiquette or like timing when it comes to hanging up on someone. If you hang up on someone mid farewell, like midway through saying bye, that's either a mistake or like you're being a total asshole. If you say your goodbyes and then immediately hang up, you get the goodbyes out, all the breath in those words has been expelled, and then you immediately hang up, you might be like, ooh, this person's a little angry, aren't they? Could it be at me? I should call them back and talk about it. But no, they need space. That's why they got out of the call so quickly, because they just want some alone time. So let me give it to them. Maybe I'll call them tomorrow and then see how they hang up. See if the moods, the tides have shifted. I hope so. I really like this person. I hope we don't have any animosity between us. That's a tough one. And then there's, I think, the polite and correct hang up, which is you say, okay, bye. They say bye. And then you give it maybe like a 1.5 count, and then you hang up. Because it gives the person the option to be like, oh, actually one more thing. Or, like, it's right. The 1-2 count after you say goodbye to someone on the phone is kind of like in person giving someone a hug. It allows you to get closure on the conversation, but then also be like, you can add something if you want, but let's do this in the meantime to say goodbye, right? A pause on a cell phone hang up is kind of like a hug. And I think that's why it also feels so terse, so abrupt when someone says bye, hang up, because you're like, we didn't even hug. Are we good? I thought we always hug. Fuck. And I know me, it was probably something I did. So how do I move forward? Knowing that I'm a bad person. But I'm not, no. And then the worst of all, by the way, is I've put you through these 3 different types of phone call or hang ups. These are things I think about, but then you could get someone that just doesn't think about this. So they just hang up the way they hang up, and it doesn't even occur to them that these are the 3 things. Or, they do mean these 3 things. They're just not conscious or self-aware enough to realize that they are exhibiting their emotions through these 3 physical behaviors. And this is where you realize, oh my God, Garv, why the fuck do you overthink everything? This is only going to hurt you at the end of the day. Stop fucking thinking about these things that don't matter. Yeah, you're right. What about it? But no, I think about those things. Do you think about those things? There is an emotion behind hanging up, and I think you have to do it right, or else it comes off the wrong way. Speaking of wrong ways of doing something, popcorn. I've been into watching movies recently, right? Over in that throne over there. And with movie watching, I always like to snack on something. And recently I found that popcorn usually gets elected to this role. And I usually get this like fudge drizzle popcorn, this Indiana brand. I love it. But sometimes I do want to go a little more saltier, but I still like to get, that sweetness. And so like I said 2 weeks ago or whatever, I'll do popcorn and some M&Ms. And this popcorn, still Indiana brand, I was eating it just yesterday. And I noticed I usually, every time I eat popcorn, go in and grab about like 4 or 5 pieces of popcorn. And then, you eat one by one out of your hand. But I was like, I keep kind of like spilling on myself. One always gets a little dislodged and, shoots downwards. So I was like, well, let's just do one by one so I don't make a mess. I'm over in the cloud 9. Let me just not make a mess for once, Just did laundry. What am I doing mucking up the place, There's a butter way to do this. Pun intended. That's right. I'm leaning into it now. I was like, there's a butter way to do this. So I start taking out popcorn one by one. And I'm not a weak guy, But about after like 4 times of that, I got tired. My arm was like, oh, dude, slow down, Jesus. Because you eat popcorn at such a fast rate, but if you keep revisiting this motion that fast, oh my God. The rate of popcorn consumption and the rate at which your arm can move is like inverse, I feel, is right. Nope, that doesn't seem right. All I'm saying, let's fucking forget about the graphs. I don't know what all that was about. But I'm saying like your arm cannot move as fast as your arm can't move at the rate at which you eat popcorn. And so if you're going to go one by one, it's not feasible. And so that's why we elect to, crane game it and go, whoop, and then we eat that shit like a madman. And then it gets everywhere. That's why when you're at the movies, there's no problem. Because A, it's going to fall back into the bucket. Or B, it's going to fall on the ground where you can, kick it around. And then when you walk by the worker, be like, yeah, clean up my shit. People are fucking rude at movies. I've seen someone like finish a movie and then they just dump their popcorn on the ground. I'm like, that's not how you do things. Do you think that's what you're supposed to do at movie theaters? They looked older. I'm like, you've been around the block. That's not what you're supposed to do, right? Because the kind of like gravitas in which you made that motion, it kind of implies that you think you're right. But you were abhorrently wrong, right? Yeah. There's some places in the world where people like are savages. And I think movie theaters are one of those places. Anytime you don't got to clean up after yourself, you turn into an animal. So yeah, places where you eat food, it's pretty much that. Yeah, anywhere you eat food and you don't got to clean up after yourself, I think it really reveals the worst in people. And that's why it's never good to have guests over. Because you have a guest over and they know, well, I don't got to clean all this shit up. So they start like using extra plates. I'm like, what's wrong with your current plate? They're like, what? I'm like, why don't you just use your current plate to get seconds? They're like, well, there's a little bit of the same food that you're about to put on it. So what's the problem? Put that fucking piece of silverware down, or put that piece of fine china away and fucking use that saucer I gave you at the start of this event. Unless, of course, you want to stick behind and do dishes with me. And they're like, okay, fine. I'll put it away. I'm like, That's what I thought. Oh, we're actually having a dinner next week. But you're busy that week, aren't you? That's weird. I wish I would have known before I scheduled it. Didn't you schedule it after you knew about my event? I did, didn't I? Must have just slipped my mind. Silly old me. Hey man, I just wanted to use an extra plate. I don't know why you're getting so weird about this. I'm sorry. Yeah. What's another place people don't got to clean up after themselves? Oh, this gets exhibited in grocery stores, right? Or like libraries. If you pick up a product and you're like, I don't want this product anymore, you just put it on a shelf because you know that it's not my problem. Some fucking high schooler does deal with this shit now. I don't care. It's like, why are English muffins in the Lego aisle? That's not even like a 1-for-1 exchange someone made. That was just like, oh wait, I don't want English muffins. It's not like they swapped that for Legos. Like sometimes you can see it, right? You see someone get whole grain bagels. And then you go to the donut aisle and for some reason there's whole grain bagels. You're like, I see what happened here. There was a decision made right here. I want to have fun for breakfast and not good cardiovascular health. I don't know what whole grain bagels give you, but they got to make your heart work well, right? I don't know. And I'm sure donuts don't make, the heart work any better. Even though donuts are a love language, I would say. You get someone a donut, I think that means, you guys are ready to take it to the next step. If you get me donuts, you're basically on second base. Just know that. No. And I'm stealing third. But yeah. Libraries too. Why is Nancy Drew in the nonfiction section? Depends who you ask. That might be right, that might be wrong. Why is Junabe Jones in the horror section? Is that Calvin and Hobbes in sci-fi? Actually, that could happen. I could see that happening. Yeah. That's a reoccurring theme for little old Calvin. Do you think Calvin was on drugs and that's why he saw Hobbes all the time? Does anyone ever talk about that? Homie's taking too much like Tylenol PM. That's why he can talk to his stuffed animals. I love Calvin and Hobbes. I have a lot of their books, I think, at home. I saw this comic about when Calvin grew up and talked to Hobbes for the last time. I think I legitimately cried when I read that. It like broke my heart. Anyways. Yeah. I hope with this talk we had today, thank you by the way for coming into my office, but I hope after our talk today, you realize how to be a better person. If you're going to cross in front of a car, no matter if they let you go or not, always give them a nice wave or a head nod. And if you're going to a place where someone has to clean up after you, maybe stack your plates. Maybe do your best to put things how you left them, okay? Did you get the ketchup next to the jukebox machine or like the little music selector? Maybe put the ketchup back there, okay? It's a diner, for Christ's sake. Have some decorum. Anyways. Thank you for listening, and I will talk at you next week. Okay? Bye.